whatever. Okay.
Yeah. I was about to ask that.
I know. I wish she'd start first because it always makes you. Well, if you start first, you get it over with. But what I want to share with you is that um, the work I'm showing, I did years ago, like in 1990. But I thought it was very, very relevant to the times. It's about fear and facing your fear. And the third one that I don't show because this big paintings is about the conquering fear. And the Peacock Queen is my myth that I'm creating, and she is fighting adversity and fear. And then she conquers it and gets her color. Okay, that's the story because I'm a myth maker and I love stories. And I've moved, my life has been an artist since I've had art in my life since when I was 3 years old. My uncle was painting a mural in the basement, and my mother's younger brother. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Well, I put marks on the wall upstairs, and that didn't go over. So I got paper to draw on. And I'm the second generation of artists. So my family was happy that I could do something because I'm the youngest of four. And they were so glad. Well, she does something. But after I got my master's degree, first of all, I went into teaching, and I didn't like that at first, so I went back to get my master's degree. And it was in the 60s, and I walked up to get my paper into the art historians, and I went down and had my first child. And luckily it was an easy birth, but I had to go back and finish my degree, and I did. And that's my story to begin with. Well, I married the man, and I went to, because of the people I married, I've moved about 8 times. And I have finally come to one place for 26 years in Birmingham. And that's that story. Well, when I was teaching at the University in Kansas in one of my episodes, and I had a master's, but not an MFA degree. So I went back with 2 children, a single parent, and got my MFA, but I made friends with people that went on to live in New York. And so I was always with artists and other artists. That group of people I still talk to. Anyway, Wisconsin was such a vital time in the 70s, and we had paper making. We kind of destroyed all the narrow painters, sculptures. We just did art, and it's a visual language that I'm into, and I've always been there. And but my work is influenced by other artists, and I'm not. The ideas don't come from somewhere. Maybe they come from looking at something, and oh, I love that work. And this work actually was it was about my fear that I was facing in 1990. I had breast cancer for the first time, and I thought, well, you can't survive that, you die. In the old days, they died from that. But I'm living a proof that you don't, and whatnot. But so I went to the Metropolitan Museum, and I saw this artist, Pierre de Cosmo, and his work is magical. He's not celebrated like a lot of the Botticellian people. He's a little guy that does little paintings, but they're wonderful. And I decided that I like what he did. So, I see Windsor Homer, I like what he did. I always kind of take from people that are like the walls on the caves. I mean, whatever. So I'm influenced by art. And I'm just trying to think what, I talk so much to Catherine that I'm talked out. But I made my living. And when I was a single parent, I had to be sure I earned something. And I taught art, and I also sold art supplies. Or, it didn't pay well, but you get food on the, table. And I thought about it the other day. I sell my art. I've always sold my art. I went to the fairs for years in the 60s selling, there I was with I had woodcuts of animals, and then I thought, I'm going to do puppets they might sell. So I've always thought in terms of showing my work and selling it. And when I came here, I was lucky because I met my neighbor, Kevin and Paul, and Kevin and I used to have the Christmas show. So part of that, and then I had come here and I had galleries, and because I know I'm not going to be sought after, so I have to go out there. And You know, some people are so genius, they see them and, oh, we're going to make them famous. Well, I'm never going to be famous, but I sure love doing art. And I like it to be not in my basement like these were. But you can't, I don't do painting all the time. You know, I stopped there because I do prints. And I even brought, I'm going to have a show January for my Woodland Creature series. And anyway, that's all I want to say. But I'm glad to be here and any questions you have, because I'm all over the map here. Yeah.
You all are not mine.
Did you hear me?
You are mine only for the recording. So just be sure to project out.
I don't think I need it. Is it okay? Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to share it.
Oh, thank you. I think I just talk louder. That's so I'm in the center, so you have a lapel. You have it. So hi everyone. My name is Elisabeth Pellathy. I teach at UAB. I've been here in Alabama for quite a while. I make artwork about Alabama. I've always made artwork about where I live. I think it's a vital part of feeling connected. So these three are my pieces here. And last summer I was invited by the professors of Montevallo to be in an artist residency. And we were to make prints based on the things. So I had a really difficult time kind of. A lot of the things that I make are about the Cahaba River, and the swamp for me felt like a very dense place where there wasn't a lot of open area, and I wasn't really sure where to begin. So the first thing that I did was take a guided tour with some professors to teach me about this work, about the place I wanted to go. And one of the most amazing things that I found was that where the swamp mouth begins on the river is actually a mine where there's silicaga marble. So most of the time we think of silicaga as silicaga marble, but there's actually a vein that runs near the river that also has silicaga marble that was mined there before it goes to the river and then becomes Ebenezer. So I was like immediately drawn to that because I had been thinking about doing something with marble, and I wanted to do something with that material, and I wasn't really sure. And the light went on because here was my chance to access the things that were in the swamp, but also talk to place doubly, which is our marble quarries, in a way that's poetic and beautiful, and maybe not talking so much about the human side of the mining, but talking more about the beauty, which is the marble. So all three of these pieces are scrap pieces from the Silicaga mines, and I laser etched them, and then I laser etched them with flora and fauna that live within the swamp, that are native to Alabama, and then I gold leafed that so that they kind of stand out. So they are actually an engraving to hold the gold leaf, which was a liquid gold. And that's what I was thinking about, and I was really grateful to be a part of that residency. I was grateful to work with other artists. I was grateful to learn more about our state and kind of think about ecology in a way that allowed me to learn more about all of the stratas of our earth. Really, really wonderful for me. So thank you for having me at Ground Floor, and thank you for hosting my work. And I'm super excited to be with these other two artists, and happy to be here. Yeah.
All right, I'm Catharine Friend, and I have been painting now for about 24 years. And I've also belonged to Ground Floor since its beginning, whenever Sarah started it, when she came back from New York. So lucky there. And this show, when we three were put together months ago, we got together and talked about sort of what we were all interested in. It was definitely nature. And then as we communicated in following months, each sort of pulls something together. And I think for me, I was reading, and I only brought it because it's such a great book, but Flights, and it's by Olga Tokarczuk or something. Anyway, Polish writer who won the Nobel Prize for this a few years ago. And the title was what got me. And I think it's really fun when you paint or when you're an artist, that if that one word can pull you in or take you off into a whole series of creativity and pieces. So that was it. Flight was really what I was thinking about and how it would translate into art pieces. About the same time, I was struggling with the fact that I have done representational art mostly, but not when I'm connected with this gallery. And the part I love about that, it pulls me in to be a little more experimental, I guess, and it pulls me into abstract work. So I was thinking I'd like to see what I could do pulling those two sides of me together and see if I could make it work. And anyway, so working with the theme of flight, I began with the piece back there. And I worked in acrylic mostly because when I do the bigger pieces, I don't want to have to stop to let them dry for days. I like to work on through it. So that one really is the connection with flight with that one is really about freedom. And one way to interpret the word. And that one really sort of painted itself. I wanted it to feel what was the playful, have a lot of texture, and feel joyful. So that one was really fun and easy to do. My next one was this one, and when I was in Australia, we were out on a farm, and the sheep. I took photos of these sheep because I was intrigued by them, and they were being chased by a threatening-looking dog, and the fear is the part of flight that I was trying to get across in this one. And this one, to me, seems darker, and that's what I was trying to get across. And that one was really fun. This one, I guess after painting two, when you take on that third in a series, as Jane and I were talking about, you've run out of steam or something. But anyway, I struggle more with this one. But this one is more about flight as necessity. When you're forced to move or when you have to forage, it has both fear and freedom connected with it. So anyway, and I really like to have a reference to paint from generally. I didn't on the backgrounds, but you know, these were birds that I had taken from South Alabama, and I really did love the way those birds were kind of fighting for their sustenance, I guess. So anyway, I really had fun doing these. Don't know what I would do next with the idea of trying to do my flight from representational to abstract work, but I'll have fun seeing where it's going. So thank you for being here. And should we ask questions? I think we were going to do that.
If anybody has. My door keeps opening.
Love to hear about James, about your woodland animals in the ceramic.
Yeah.
Are they
These are
ceramic?
amazing.
I'd love to hear about them.
Thank you. They are, you know, when I came here, I had to kind of start all over again what I was going to do, and I did want to do ceramics, and so because my aunt was actually a portrait, and I knew about sculpture, but I didn't do it because you have to think that way, and I just thought this way, the two didn't be. But when I came here, I got the chance to go to Montevallo and do a big print. But in the meantime, I got asked to be an artist in residence with Scott Meyer. So I went out there and worked with, he had onigami kiln firing, and I got to have time with his students, and I took my woodcut prints and we went through the clay, and I had fun with clay. And all of a sudden, my fear of clay left, and I started to play. But also, my neighbor Kevin let me in her studio for 2 years. And I made a mess. You know, she's such a careful, beautiful works with, and I kind of express myself with clay. And sometimes I don't know how you stayed and have me come in, but I didn't want to buy a kiln and all the equipment because I had, I had my press actually be in a car for 2 years before I got it off the press. And Paul and people helped me get the press in the basement. So I don't know, we got sidetracked here, but I got loving clay because it was a challenge. The only C I got in art school in Wisconsin was in ceramics with Harvey Littleton. And I thought, I finally can do clay because you don't have to do the wheel. And I was glad for that. And I just have had more fun in that area because I have no program. I mean, and that gives me a freedom. But I also love animals, and I've been putting animals in different places. But one day I started to make a tree for my owls, and Scott, who I work at Red Dot now, and he said, forget that animal, just look at the tree. And I said, oh, yeah. So now I'm just doing trees. That's my story. Did I answer it?
I have another question. Elizabeth, I wanted to hear about etching. Is it chemical etching?
Yeah, it's not. So just the laser etcher. So yeah.
So is it programmed digitally?
Yeah. So they're hand drawn and then scanned into the computer, and then using Illustrator pen tools so that they can then the machine does the work after that. But yeah. So no, they're not traditional printmaking. Yeah, they're not like a plate, but they're kind of being used like a plate, right? Like
now they could be,
right?
right?
Yeah, they could be. Yep. And that's what I was doing with the seashells on the plexi, right? I was drawing those all out and using CAD whenever I was scanning stuff, and laser etching them so that they have the ability to do paleo or a woodblock print. So yeah, I mean, all of the work that I do, I feel like is really inspired by my undergraduate degree. And even though I'm a new media artist, I feel like my mind is still always in that space of thinking about printmaking, right? Like how to make this a print, but just a little extra, like a little edge or a little something different. But yeah, so I could have used a hand tool to do them. Yeah, but the machine is quicker and it's easier. And I never did marble on a machine, so of course I was like, I better try. Yeah, you have to try like yeah. So, yeah.
Elizabeth, I had one too.
Yeah.
So do you man the machine? I had assumed you did everything and then took it in to somebody to do it.
So whenever I came to UAB, Lauren Lake was the chair, and she gave me a startup fund that was very generous. And the first thing that I bought was an Epilogue laser machine
Fine.
because I was doing I was laser etching text onto feathers,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to continue my work, but I also thought that it would be an incredible asset to the department and the students. And since then, we have glow forges and we really upped our game as far as our equipment. But I'm still really grateful that that was my first big purchase as a faculty member at UAB. And the thing that I use probably once a week for my own work.
Wow.
I use it all the time. I use it for designs. I use it for ideation. I mean, anything on that machine. So I know how to use it. I'm in charge of it, and I absolutely love it. Yeah. Very, very happy with it.
You said with the gold leaf, you painted the gold.
Yeah, so it's a liquid gold leaf. I guess it may not be called gold leaf once it becomes a liquid. It was sold in a small bottle. It was from Italy. I can't tell you the exact name. I can take a picture of the that it was called liquid gold leaf, and it is, you know, a carroted gold. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a low carroted gold, but it's a carroted gold. And I painted that into the indentations, and then, you know, gently used a sponge after it dried to clear off all of the accent so that it stays within the print.
That machine you use, because she had a show when you collaborated with your husband and Scott.
Yeah,
And
we
that-
still collaborate. We're just not very active.
Because you have other things.
We still are like, we should make friends together.
They were wonderful.
Yeah, we enjoy that.
The first time I ever saw, I did
Yeah.
a print at Tandem Press, and
Yeah.
the first time I ever saw the machine was like in the 80s. They got that,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
they had that machine, and it scared me because the high technology in printmaking. But
Yeah.
you really are able to do that.
Well, I think that's why I did new media, right? I really understand software programs, and I'm good with that. But truly, I'm a printmaker.
Oh,
So
good.
I'm like, how do I take this industrial thing and make something like put text on feathers, laser etch marble? You know, how do I make a print on plexi that can be an intaglio and a relief? You know, that's how I'm thinking about the technology. And I think that's where people get kind of bogged down with technology, is they don't think of it as a way for it to be a secondary outlet for artistic creation. They just see that and then say, oh, I could do that by hand, or what would that provide for me? And I think, you know, I'm always thinking the reverse of that. I see the technology and I'm like, how can I paint with that? How can I be a printmaker with that? You know, and I think that's where, for me, the technology becomes a great asset instead of a deterrent.
I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful because you
Yeah.
you can play with it.
Yes. Well, I think every media, right? I mean, that's kind of like the 10 things from John Ippolito, who's the Guggenheim curator of new media, right? It's about being able to take media and use it like any other tool, which makes the media art. That's, you know, that was one of his 10, he has 10 of them, but that was the one that really stuck with me when I read that as an undergraduate. I thought, yeah, that makes sense. You know, why are we discouraged by this barrier? There is no barrier. Only if you think there's a barrier. If you stop thinking there's a barrier, then you just do whatever you want. Just make work. Yeah, just use any tool and try your best to make work that you are happy with.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm dying to go see that machine.
Use it.
I'm waiting on an invitation.
Anytime. You all have an invitation. Please come to UAB. Please come to UAB. Please use that machine. My email is pellathy@uab.edu. I love UAB. I am happy to be at that university. It's been very good to me. They have an amazing arts and medicine program. They have an amazing art department. They, you know, they excel in a myriad of ways. Not to say that I'm not happy with the other campuses like Montevallo or Alabama or Auburn. They're all amazing, but you know, I think that's what being in a place is about. It's about collaborative, you know, exposure and upping people in a positive way. That's what collaboration looks like. It's not about this is better or this is hidden somewhere. It's about community. Yeah, it's the most important part is the people.
Describing it after the imagery thing. I was really trying to understand the characters in it, fear and innocence, and the characters between the fear and innocence. They're like wolf heads and bodies. Can you just say something about?
Well, I love wolves. I really don't, but they make such a good, myth maker about wolves because people are afraid of wolves, but the wolves are afraid of us too. So it's a happy, whatever. I used it to have a story, a myth, kind of a Jungian dream. Like you're not aware of anything and you're free. And then all of a sudden you see danger and you fear. I mean, we all went through that with COVID. We didn't even know what COVID was. And all of a sudden we heard about it and people were dying. And so it's how, and when I was a kid, polio was just like COVID. So in that story, she is up there kind of looking, not sure what's happening. She's in the corners spying, kind of getting it all. And they're kind of doing their thing with nature, like killing the deer. And all of a sudden they see her, and oh, she might be, fair game. And now she flies from danger. But the third one, which is kind of like I said to you, it's always hard to do that third because I like that one the best, and then it got less and less. So the third one is she comes back with her painted face as a peacock boyer, and they all dance and have a good time.
I know. I want to see that one. I love these. They're beautiful.
No,
They're so big, though. I one day say, "Oh, they're in the basement too long." So I when I got an opportunity to show them, I thought, "Oh, I'm going to do it."
Yeah.
But they were, Samuel Fletcher Museum. They were in there one year in 1990, and I was just so happy to see them again. But you make artwork, and the reality is how much of you store of what you do, and that's why my paintings everything's getting smaller and smaller.
It's not a question so much as a comment, but I think it's interesting that you are mostly making woodcuts, right? And that is, Mark is seen in your paintings. These are very much relief paintings in a way. Like they have that kind of striated wooden feel.
I'm really a printmaker. I'm a hidden printmaker. I even like I have fun putting my old prints on clay and for texture. There's something about. I trained with Wisconsin and had a very good printmaking. And my major mentor was Warrington Colescott, who does gossip about people and situations. But he did etchings. Well, doing etchings, technically, when you move so much, it's hard. And I always loved wood because there's something meditative, and it slows me down. I can sit there for hours and just cut. And the painting, that's exactly why I do it that way.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I love your color palette. I absolutely these are
Thank you.
just such calming and beautiful colors. And I'm wondering how you come up with such incredible color palettes. I struggle with color a lot, and that's why I'm asking. Give me some tips. How do you do this? It's so beautiful.
Well, thank you. And the color, it's interesting that is one of the few things I feel good about. And it's because of the way I started painting 24 years ago. I took a course from Mark Carter, and Patty B and I both were there. She went on to great heights. But anyway, the way we learned, he had a scientific brain, I guess, brilliant. And he would analyze every speck of paint that we were to put on a canvas. And an example, we would take an apple and probably do 30 different colors to paint the apple before we touched the canvas. So we would put the colors down, and we would have to find the color by doing a little viewfinder on the apple and move around like that. So anyway, very tedious, very tight work. And but there was something about doing that over and over, and to start like that really, color is the part of painting that is my favorite thing. And then I got into taking magazines, cutting colors out, and mixing them around and trying to see what I like together. And then I take a photograph of it. And then I will paint big swatches of paper that I've gessoed and do the same thing with it. And it really has, sometimes it works, sometimes not, but that's That's kind of where I come up with
Yeah.
it. So
It's so, I love it.
thank you so
I love the
much.
way you layer.
Yeah.
And layering
Yeah,
is
your
really
clouds.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
I said that they kind of feel
Oh, that is,
but you know, it would
thanks.
be kind of interesting about this overlap.
Wouldn't that be fun with that machine?
You are
I'm getting to that
anytime.
machine.
Yeah, anytime.
Fun. I know. Yeah, that's a great tip. Maybe you'll come with us.
Yeah.
See. Uh-huh. Interesting. Yours really does.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
That
think
is funny.
the interesting thing is we're three very different approaches.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about art, because the personalities that do it, there's so many different ways to do art. And it's an expression and a visual language, but some people are very meticulous, some are, and that's so fun.
Yeah.
Jane, I had said to Jane earlier that I thought technique was the most important thing to begin with. And so Jane, we talked about, I told her I was going to ask her this. So she had a great response.
I did, but I don't remember it, except technique is like Harvey Littleton said, technique is, he said it was a cheap, yeah.
We started the whole class flowing thing. Everyone thought that was just technique is cheap. How you do it.
She's went to Wisconsin too, so that's right. We got some good items. He gave me a C though in ceramics.
Wait, this is our second time to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. Would you?
But it made me fight more,
She's going to email these pieces and have them regraded. A plus. You did it.
Well, I didn't do the wheel well.
That's okay.
Did he teach ceramics? Harvey taught ceramics?
You won't believe it, but that's how he started out. He was known for his teapots. His dad, he got the money to do glass because his dad invented Pyrex at that point. I think about too is that I bought a press when they were $800, and it's been with me, carried here and there. But now, when you do things like that, laser, everything costs a lot. I mean, you can't just do art in your own studio because of the equipment.
Yeah, I mean, you can do art in your own studio.
Well, you can.
But if you really like equipment, it is nice to have other resources and, better. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, it is nice because it is difficult. Like, I started, well, I do CAD-based jewelry as well, but that's like a side thing that I've been doing for a while. But then I was like, well, I want to make my own jewelry and share it. And, it's all 3D, right? I'm using Rhino to create it. I'm not my hands or wax, relief or anything like that. Print it is very expensive. It's contingent on whatever the cost of the metal is at the time of stock market. So, and to have a metal printer is, exorbitant. So I think, but I could go back and learn more traditional techniques, and it would be more cost efficient, right? Yeah. So I think it's just like how you want to work with the material and what you want to do. And
I think that's true. There's a range.
There's a range. There's a huge range, right? You can make beautiful jewelry, and it could just be, those hand woven friendship bracelets are incredibly beautiful. They're, they're a work of art of themselves, and they only use embroidery cloth. You can go that way. It just depends on what you want to do. And I have, I guess I would call it the added luxury of it. That's what it is. I mean, it truly is, right? I recognize that I'm sitting in a very privileged seat here with the added use of the university that allows me to, you know, and encourages me to do these things.
But the wonderful thing is that you have the use, but you are doing something with it and sharing to the people that you are.
Yeah.
A teacher always shares with the student.
Of course, and my students, you know, their last project was a laser cut animations. So we were using the machine to do kind of Log Rider style or paper cutouts, but they had to use the laser machine to cut out all of their parts. So, and then they were making animations about Turkey Creek and Red Mountain and Buckner Mountain. So we went to those places and we met everyone, and they made their animations, and then they're going to be distributed as promotional material for those. So yeah, I definitely want other people to learn those skills, and that is part of it.
Elizabeth does all of this with 3 children, teaching 100 and, what did you tell
I
me,
have
students?
110 students.
No help, and
Yeah.
then regular life. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Thank goodness it's Friday, even though it's
Yeah.
yeah, I love when Friday comes. I'm so happy. Just like, okay, cooking at home and drinking wine. I'm not looking at anything till Sunday night. That's why sometimes I need reminders from Sarah that we have things going on. I was like, oh no.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here.